Hey, how you doing, folks? Seems to be coming through okay, I think. It's a bit noisy. How's everyone doing? It's Wednesday morning, or midday actually. I've decided with these live streams, I'm just going to do them at random times. It's felt for a while now like it's becoming a little bit formulaic, like it's the formula as I do Monday nights and I do them at 9 o'clock. And I'm like, man, I just want to jump on here when I want to jump on here. And that's what I'm going to do from now on. The live streams are just going to be there. So make sure you're subscribed and you've got notifications on so you don't miss it. That's the best thing you can do. And then I'm just going to jump on there and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'll play some tunes as always. Answer questions if there's stuff you want to know. I mean, when I was starting out playing, if I could have asked a pro player a bunch of questions for free, I'd have loved that. So happy to help folks if I can. I'm running through this today, just the little Princeton Deluxe. I'm getting a bit of noise. I'm not sure what it is, but something's kind of a little bit there's some gremlins in the system. The amp's not up very loud either. This is up on full. If I bring it back a bit, you should like it about here, I think. Maybe it's a cable going, I don't know. It's pretty bit distorted. I'm going to swap guitars in case it's the guitar. Could be just a bit too hot for that setting. Which is really where that amp sounds best to me, is that setting, but we'll try this, eh? The good old Stratocaster. That's better. Sam McKenzie, how you doing, bro? Where's the 8-string flying V? If I had one, I'd play it, right? And I'd be playing jazz tunes on it. Maybe this amp's getting a bit of moisture in it or something. I don't know. It does need a recap. You're good like that, dude. This happened the other day too. I don't know if you can see that. Come on, camera, focus. No, it's not going to, is it? Because my face is in shot. But it took a big chip out of the neck. Whoops. It happens. Yeah, there is something about the Strat thing, isn't there? So I got the day free today. I'm just going to be working on some music. I got a gig on Friday night with John Ray and his big band of sorts. I think it's 12, maybe a 12-piece band or something like that. And he's playing these sort of Celtic type songs. And a couple of them are pretty damn hard. So I'm kind of going to work on those today and see if I can get them up to speed, because it's just they're not that hard to play, but it's to play them at tempo. There's one that goes like this. Hear that delay? But twice as fast as that. Even that's not up to tempo. So I'm going to be working hard on those, trying to get them up to speed. It's got to be 250, so, and I can't do that. It doesn't fall naturally under the guitar. Okay, when did you thinking for soloing move from this lick over this, as opposed to just flowing freely to what you hear in your head? If that makes sense. I was stumped for an answer the other day. So like in terms of like this works over that as opposed to just flowing freely. Well, the thing is, you can just flow freely, but if you don't know what you're going to flow with, it's kind of like if you don't know the vocabulary of the English language, your speech is not going to flow, right? And if you ever see someone who's got broken English, they often get words the wrong way around, and as soon as they do that, it interrupts their whole flow. So I think like a big part of it is just like having your vocabulary really down. So your things like your arpeggios, scales, all that kind of stuff. You know, something like There Will Never Be Another You. You know, don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to kind of think about that stuff anymore, because I've just done it to death on so many songs that now it's just a case of kind of it flows because you have the vocabulary to flow with, if that makes sense, right? Yeah, I never think it's a bad thing to kind of know your instrument better, whatever instrument you play. I mean, for those that are not hip to it, Sam's a great drummer here in Wellington, and you know, it's the same thing for drums, you know? Got it, like, it's all good and fine having licks, but if you don't understand those licks and how they kind of fit together, and then nothing flows, right? But the thing is, like, what happens is when you play, I don't think about it anymore when I play. Like, when I'm playing on a gig, the homework's done. If I'm having to think about it, that means I haven't... Oh, crap all over me. That's what you get for having a dog. He comes with you whether you want him to or not. Sam says, not sure if you agree, but my answer was more so the licks and patterns, etc., in my case, become embedded in the subconscious and allows it to flow and creatively to move more freely. No, I totally agree with that. That's the thing. You got to have the materials down, or you don't stand a chance of having any kind of real flow about it, right? Because thinking is kind of the enemy of flow, right? Like if I have to think about what scale I'm going to play against that, it's too slow. That's what I do in the practice room, so that when I play, it can just happen. Do you know what I mean? And there's so much to it too in terms of like how you do that. It's different for every person, I think, too. Like everybody's journey in music is different. This is kind of why I think for having a private teacher is a really good idea for a lot of people. A lot of people bounce around on the YouTube and Instagrams and stuff and think that that's going to fix their problems. And, you know, there's some good information out there, and if you know what you're looking for, you can get it. But I think having a private teacher goes a long way, because the teacher, a good teacher, because not all teachers are good, but a good teacher will have your best interests at heart in trying to help you get better and help you getting your ideas to flow and to sound proper musical. And that happens from licks and patterns, right? Because they're the vocabulary. If you don't have the vocabulary, you've got nothing to build upon. At least that's how I look at it. And that's in terms of like a jazz thing. Now, it's a little different if you're probably playing the blues, because, you know, it's a different vocabulary, but at the end of the day, it's probably not that much different, right? It's probably really just more of the same. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, on this channel too, I think I talk a lot about concepts and a lot about you can play this chord scale over this thing and this arpeggio and all that kind of stuff. But because I think that's what works well on the internet, is the stuff that giving people materials, because you can give that. The things that really matter, like your ability to play groove and make it feel good, nobody can really teach you that. You learn that by doing it over and over and over again until you can feel it internally, and playing with people who really do it, you know. Groove like that, for example. When I'm practicing, I might practice that for half an hour with a click. So I'll take something like that and just kind of work on, like with that, like slight variations, and seeing like what makes it sit a certain way, you know. Even when I haven't played today, so I got up this morning, kind of late actually. This morning I was pretty tired after last night's rehearsal for the show that we're doing this week, which opens on Thursday at Te Auaha. If you haven't subscribed, go on. If you haven't liked, you know, you should do that too. Then you don't miss the live streams, because they're going to be random now. They're not going to be a regular time. It's going to be when I sort of feel like it's getting too formulaic. I need to just do this kind of when I'm feeling inspired. Different from videos, you know. Putting out videos is a different thing. I remember playing on a drummer's recital when he was at university, a guy called Johnny Wilson in Wellington, and he said, "Now guys," he goes, "I'm a drummer," he goes, "I don't give a shit about your Mixolydian scales or your altered scales," he goes, "just give me good rhythms." Well, that was funny. So, because what he wanted, right, just like the drummer's recital. Sound seems to have settled down a bit. I might go back to that other guitar and see if that's it. Maybe the amp just needed a bit of a run, and it was sort of it hasn't been run for a few days. It's been full on. I've been busy. This show this week, it's pretty full on. It's good though. I mean, I like doing that stuff, going in the theatre and playing. They're great gigs, because you set up your gear once and you go in, and really it's about just getting better at the part every night. Do you know what I mean? It's not about reinventing the wheel. Hey Jeff, how you doing? Yeah, see, that sounds better now. Maybe it was just the amp kind of spluttering away. Curious what volume that's at. That pot sounds a little scratchy. Between 8 and 8.5. That's usually on this amp where it is. Hey Patrick, how you doing? That's what I like right there, just that little bit of breakup. Up when you hit it hard. Seems to be working now. That's good. that's a fun little chord progression. I was teaching a student yesterday, and he brought up this tune. I forget what it's called now. Something about Since Loving You or something like that. Thin Lizzy tune that was with Gary Moore playing on it. So we learned it and kind of worked on it and tried to get him to play chord changes. It's one thing he was particularly interested in. And was that chord progression. A minor, D minor, G7 sus to C major. And there was an F major in that song too. But Jeff says, I recently got an Ibanez AS113 and a large part of my love for SCO. Nice. Blues in general and you. Oh, thank you, dude. Watching your video on the JSM 100 pushed me over the edge to Ibanez. Was looking at Heritage and D'Angelico. Heritage and D'Angelico are good too. I think, one thing I think with Ibanez, and I'm not saying this as an endorsee because I no longer endorse Ibanez. I haven't been an Ibanez endorsee for about a year now. And yet here I am still playing this. I play this guitar because it's a good guitar. And the thing with Ibanez that I found, and one of the reasons I even started being an Ibanez endorsee, which was about 10 years ago, was that they're really good bang for the buck. You know, I think the only other brand that kind of, for me, that kind of gets in the same territory of like bang for buck is Epiphone, right? Epiphone, like all beginners kind of start with Epiphone, right? They get an Epiphone guitar, Epiphone Les Paul or something like that, or a Squier, right? Because you might spend $1,000 on a guitar and you get something that feels like it's worth a lot more than that. And I kind of feel the same way about Ibanez. You know, for what you pay for something like this, you get a lot of guitar, way more than you get from a Gibson, to be honest, in this price range. But you know, of course, I didn't get a JSM, but I am beyond impressed with the AS113. Nice. The most bang for buck. There you go. You just said it, right? Most bang for buck I've made on a guitar purchase. That's the thing, you know. These are workhorse guitars, and I mean, is a vintage Gibson 335 better? Well, yeah, they are, but they're like 100 times the price, and hard to get. And even then, not all of them are good. I've played a bunch of vintage guitars that are not good. You know, people go on about it, and you know, there are special ones for sure, but there are also some pretty average ones in amongst there too that, you know, especially if you, one thing to watch out with vintage guitars, right? If you ever see a vintage guitar that looks mint condition, don't buy it. Those are not the ones, right? If it's a vintage guitar and nobody's played it, it's because it doesn't have a thing, right? It doesn't have a sound. It doesn't, you know what I mean? So the ones that have been played a lot, you can tell, those are usually the ones that kind of have soul about them. That's just what you want from an old guitar, right? Yeah. So they cost a fortune, though. You know what I mean? Like, who can afford those now? And even then, you know, would you really want to take it out to your gig and risk it getting knocked over or whatever? You know, sort of, you know. Yeah, Jeff says, really well crafted, excellent care in the build, just replacing the tuners. Okay, what was wrong with the tuners? If you do get some of these. Oh, maybe that's what the noise was I was hearing. Well, that's a bit loose. These are my favourite tuners ever. Is it going to focus? There we go. Can you see those? Goto 510s. Amazing. These things are smooth as butter. Highly recommend them. I'm going to go back to the Strat. I'm feeling in the Strat kind of mood today. Which is most days. Strat's just comfortable, you know? They're just comfortable and they just work. This one desperately needs a setup. I had it refretted a couple of months ago, and it's never quite settled down. You know what I mean? Guitars always do that when you do some kind of major changes to it, you know, because the fretboard's been opened up by having all the frets taken out, and you got to put new frets in. And when that happens, it's sort of pushing things apart, and things are moving and changing. And you know, they sometimes, especially a guitar like this is a '94 Japanese Strat, and since 1994, this thing hasn't been played. All the dents and chips and stuff in it. If you can see that one, just did that the other day. all the dense scrapes that it has are just from me, like that one, me using it a lot. And you know what the killer is for guitars, that like in terms of damaging them? Microphones, sorry, not microphone stands, music stands. Your music stand is here, right? And you're playing, you're reading, and then someone calls you for your attention and you go, and you bang it there. I don't even know how that one happened. If you can see that there. But you bang into a stand or something, and like it's always the music stand because it's right here. So, to be honest though, I don't actually care. Like to me it's like, they're instruments to be used, do you know what I mean?
Always like Purple Rain. I've set up a loop pedal here on the ground. You probably can't see it, but it's before my pedal board. So anything I'm putting in the loop, so say I put distortion on, should have set the loop right after the board and then, but that's how it goes. There was no plan with this. I just thought I'll jump on here and I'll do the live stream. So it was like, however I was set up was how I'm set up. So it's all good. I'm gonna make the, if you're new and just arrived, I'm gonna be doing the live streams just random like this. I'm not gonna do them regular timing anymore. It's feeling a little too much like it's routine. I don't want this to be routine. You know what I mean? Jeff says the tuners were odd to me. They were jumpy. Yeah. Oh, okay. Some would really have a high gear ratio feel, and others would jump a bit or be a bit delicate. Some were stiff, some were smooth, basically inconsistent. Sometimes it can be, you know, they have a little screw on the top. If you just give that screw a little tighten, it can make the whole thing sort of feel differently, and you might be able to adjust it per each one. But if they're jumpy and stuff like that, it's usually one place that manufacturers cut back on, right, is the tuners, because the hardware is it is a spot that they can't, with cheaper instruments you can't get around it, right? You've got to spend the money that like they're an expensive part. So it's usually the hardware. I remember a luthier friend telling me that. He said, if you're ever looking at a cheap instrument, check out the hardware, right? That's usually where the inconsistencies are. The good news is that if you get a cheaper instrument, hardware is easy to upgrade. You know what I mean? You can get replacement tuners and bridges and whatever. Goto 510s, highly recommended. Jeff says, I think that's where they save money. Yeah, totally. It's $1,000 guitar as well made and feeling as my $3,500 and $2,800 guitars. No exaggeration. Best fit job of any of my instruments, period. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's great, man. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, it's a funny thing with guitars, eh? You know, they've come a long way. Like, a lot of cheap guitars now really are good, you know. Artist Guitars is one guitar company I've kind of had my eye on for a while. I think they're Australian made, but maybe made with Chinese parts. Because the thing is now with CNCs, you know, they can make the parts cheap on CNCs, and then, you know, it's kind of like, if you think about a Strat is really it's a parts caster, isn't it? So it's a collection of parts that make this thing kind of come together to do what it does. And so the thing, yeah, like, if you can make it on a CNC, you can make it super accurate. The frets are all cut perfectly. There's none of that kind of inconsistency that you used to get with instruments, you know, that are... So, yeah, the consistency's gone right up. Now, you know, of course, there are instruments that are special and others that aren't because the wood is not all the same. But they've come a long way. You know, and even like, you know, I think Artist Guitars, they've got handmade pickups on there. You know what I mean? On an instrument that's cheap. I'd love to get one in the studio. If anyone knows anyone at Artist Guitars, tell them to get in touch with me. Because I haven't really shown a lot of like cheaper instruments on my channel. You know, not because for any reason other than send me some stuff to show. You know, I'm happy to give my opinion on it, and I'll be honest, as I always am. You know, but then generally I don't tend to show stuff that I don't like. If I wasn't into it at all, then I just wouldn't. I don't see the point in shitting on anyone. But if it was something that was like, you know, reasonable, I'd be happy to show what it... You know, try and be positive and show what it does well. Happy to. That's that OTB custom boost made by Owen Barry. Man, I love that pedal. It's just something about it, right? Like this is my normal clean sound. Now put the boost on. Does have a little bit of a pop, but true bypass switches generally do. But it's like it compresses, but it also adds a little bit of sparkle in a sweet kind of way. Of course, it's driving a little bit more, but not really. I've got it set on a quarter, and it just makes a big difference. Something like a sound like that. You can see it's just kind of it's giving it the right kind of push in the way I want to hear it. Big guitar sound. It's a cool song, isn't it? I've always liked that. It was one thing I do a lot when I practice is I put on backing tracks and concerts on YouTube, and I just try and see if I can play along to the songs from beginning to end. No particular thing. I start at the beginning of the concert and just see if I can, kind of transcribing in real time, right? Because on the bandstand, nobody stops to wait for you to figure out the chord changes. You just got to hear it, and especially stuff like that. So the other night I put on an old '90s Phil Collins thing, and that was one of the songs he did. So I tried to figure it out. One of the other ones he did was, which is a cool tune. There was a bunch of them in there, and it was cool, and it's really, really good practice. I'm good, thanks. It says, "Hey Nickelodeon background musician pro ultra, how are you?" That's okay. That's really the Phil Collins chord change, isn't it? B major, or any key, and then C sharp over B. That sound, right? Does it twice in that chord progression. The other one is in E. I love that. Alright. It's a kind of a hard change to play, right? Because it's almost like a Lydian thing, but it's not. It's not that sound, it's that, right? So it's not really a Lydian thing, it's really just like C sharp major over B, right? Right, which is quite a different sound, right? Instead of... Universe creation was started with sound vibration called as like for both. Okay. No idea what you're talking about, dude. But all good. Let's bring that down a touch, get it cleaner and brighter. This one. I know that one. The only music I can play is Nickelodeon background music. Man, I'm liking the setup. I've got a cabinet. I'm running through this head, which I made, which is basically an amp that I had already, and I took the amp head out and just converted it into being a head and cabinet. So it's this one. So that's a Princeton front end with a deluxe output. It's made by a company called MPC, and I made the cabinet, just this head, out of just scrap bits of leftover wood. So this was some wood that came from Hong Kong like 40 years ago with my mother and father-in-law imported a bunch of it. I think they were gonna have some furniture made or something. So it's teak. And it's been sitting in our garage for like 10 plus years. This on the side is oak, and it's actually an oak plywood. I found this cabinet that someone was throwing out down the road, and it was all solid oak. So I grabbed it and pulled it to bits and stole the wood. Because one thing I like doing is I like doing woodworking for anyone that knows me. This is a bit rough around the corners, so don't look too closely. And then I framed it with this, which is what, I don't even know what it is. Whatever I had lying around. Yeah, just because it's, chippy a little bit. And then the cabinet's in the other room, and I've got a 57 and a ribbon on there now, so I'm liking it. And that's my short reverb on the VP4, which I like for kind of rhythm parts. And then I have the exact same reverb but with a longer length, more of it, like that. Which is what I'd normally use. And focus on playing. It's the BB preamp. Pretty much have set up for the neck pickup, and then the OCD, which I set up for the bridge. So I've got the tone control back a bit to kind of warm that up a little bit. So you can do with the tone control here, but I prefer to do it on the pedal and then just have that. So this is sort of normally how I do the bridge pickup thing. Or I'll use the dude. Quite like that sound too. The dude has a more open kind of thing. It's more dynamic, less squishy, more Dumbo-esque, and the OCD is kind of a bit more mid-scooped and a bit more kind of rock. You know what I mean? So that kind of sound. Of course, you can turn down your guitar. But that's kind of a cool sound. That sort of reminds me of like what Keith Scott would do with Bryan Adams. Sort of like a... Man, and it's out of tune. I can't handle out of tune. It's the non-locking tuners. I don't want to change these tuners. I actually really like them. They're the original ones, so... So this is my volume on my guitar on about 8.5. Sort of that sound, it does that really well. So this one 8. If I went up to 10, just a bit bigger. That seems to be the sweet spot for that sound. love Keith Scott's playing. For anyone who doesn't know, that guy has got to be the most underrated guitar player on the planet. You know, he always gets a killer guitar sound. Oh, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good day. Yeah, like, he always gets a killer guitar sound. His rhythm playing is right in the pocket for that sort of stuff. His solos, he never plays too many notes. It's always just the right thing for the song, you know. Very melodic with that singing kind of lead tone. I really like Keith Scott's playing a lot. I think he's fantastic. Hey folks, I'm going to have to go. I've got a bunch of things to do today. We've got a rehearsal tonight. I think it's dress rehearsal tonight for the show. And yeah, that sort of stuff. So I'm going to be kind of running around everywhere. And I've got some practice to do and some errands to run and all that sort of stuff. But thank you for joining me. And this is the kind of the way the live streams are going to be going forward. I'll just do them when I can. I'm just going to jump on here. Yes, I did see the one with, hey Owen, how you doing? I saw that, yeah, I did see Keith Scott's interview with Mason. It was great, man. Nice to see Keith kind of getting some kudos, you know what I mean? Because he is a fantastic guitar player. You know, just, I mean, the end of that song, right, that I just played, goes, and then builds and builds and builds, and then at the end he goes, just those melodic lines over that outro, just like the perfect thing to play for sure. Hey, I'm going to split people, but again, thank you very much for joining me. I don't know if I'll leave this one up. It was kind of a little bit of a random play, whatever, but I'll leave it up for a minute. But generally I tend to leave live streams up, but in this case it was just kind of a random one to just sort of update you that what I'm going to do with the live streams is kind of be a bit more random with them and a little less of kind of being too much of a formula nowadays, where it's like Monday nights at 9, it's just feeling too rigid for me, which was not the kind of point of this from the beginning. Live streams to me are just a chance to get on here and hang, play some music and answer questions and keep you up to date, answering, show anything you want to know. Anyway, take care, see you in the next one. Thanks.